So there were 3 instances where something emerged online as if some person had made a terrible gaffe, right? And the 3 instances were Whoopi Goldberg, which some people will say, but she did make a terrible gaffe. Actually, people will say that for all 3 of these things. Whoopi Goldberg's statement about the Nazis. Mm-hmm. There's Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan's program, where they talk about the terminology black and white and the fact that it is chromatically bizarre.
Okay.
And the third one is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s speech at the march, in which he talks about Anne Frank. And in all 3 of these cases, these people took tremendous flack. And
so I think you have not explained the third one for those who don't already know what the story is.
The RFK one.
Yeah.
RFK gave a speech at the march in which he said something that actually I think I've said here on DarkHorse, or pretty close to it, which was that there is a distinction between the tyranny that we are seeing presently and all previous examples. That I had been prepared, I'm speaking now for me, I had been prepared from childhood for the fact that it could happen anywhere. Don't kid yourself, it can't happen here, because it can. Right. What I was not prepared for at all was that there would be nowhere to go. Right? That was always written into those stories, was that it happens and you don't want to be slow to recognize it, because one of the things you might have to do is run. And I have been noticing now for much of, at least the second half of COVID, that the places that I would have thought to run, you can't go. They're in fact some of the worst places, right? Including Israel. Right.
But Canada's giving us all hope again.
Well, Canada is now telling both sides of this story, right? We're seeing a rebellion against the draconian stuff, but they've been ahead of the curve with respect to the draconian stuff. Yep. So anyway, the point is, in all 3 of these cases, here's what I saw.
So again, this is Whoopi Goldberg on The View talking about the Holocaust. Right. Yep. And this is Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan talking about the naming of races by black and white as if those are really descriptive of skin color. And you have RFK talking about this being different from past horrors.
Right.
And specifically invoking the Holocaust.
Anne Frank and her
where she,
temporarily successful resistance by hiding and Von Trapp's escaping over the Alps and things. But
did he invoke the Von Trapps?
Yeah. Well, he didn't invoke them by name, but he talked about there were things that, not everybody was able to get out, obviously, but people did find ways to escape. Right. That was his point. And you can like it or you could not like it. But here's what I saw. And actually, there is a precedent, which Eric has talked about, which is the Dean Scream. Right. So the Dean Scream, Howard Dean running for president at the end of a defeat, a night in which a primary where he is defeated, is giving a pep rally to his supporters. And he says, and we're going to go to and he lists a bunch of states, and his voice is hoarse and he lets out some kind of a screechy something or other. And it was a total nothing, but it actually ended his presidential bid because it was circulated by the late night comedy programs as if it had been this terribly embarrassing thing.
And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House. Ah!
Here's my point about these 3 instances. We can go back and forth about the details of what Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson said, what Whoopi Goldberg said, what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said. And we can talk about their merits, but specifying exactly what they said that was so very terrible is not really doable. In fact, I haven't heard it described anywhere, right? Trevor Noah mocked Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan.
Oh my God. I'm not black. I'm not black. Joe Rogan's right. I'm like a caramel mocha frappuccino. This changes everything. This changes everything. The police said I'm black.
And his point, and I don't think there's anything wrong with his point, his point was what they're saying is so obvious. Why why are they even talking about it, right? Whereas CNN absolutely slandered Jordan Peterson.
Oh, God. It's great to be at two simultaneous places in the pushback that are mutually incompatible.
I mean, what Don Lemon did on
That's so
CNN.
dumb. You're racist for saying it. That's so obvious. Why are you saying it?
Right, exactly.
You can't have it both ways, guys.
And the CNN version,
Yeah.
I hope I'm going to get this right.
Okay.
It's Don Lemon, right, who is talking to Michael Eric Dyson. I hope I have the person right, who is somebody that Jordan Peterson had a famous debate with not too terribly long ago.
Yep.
And
Skewered him.
Jordan Peterson is describing Michael Eric Dyson having called Jordan Peterson an angry white man.
Yep.
Okay. Don Lemon inverts this and reports it as if Jordan Peterson has called Michael Eric Dyson an angry white man or something like that.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
But, I mean, that doesn't even, Michael Eric Dyson is not a white man.
That's exactly why it would be a crazy.
Okay. I hope this is true. I
believe he even showed the clip and then did it. It's incredible. We should link it in the show notes. But
your name was dropped because here's why. Because you have previously debated Jordan Peterson, but yeah, and they mentioned it, right? He said you said you were, I don't know, something an angry white man or something like that. Or mean, I forget.
Anyway, here's my point. I know it's so unbelievable that it sounds like I must have it wrong, right?
Yes.
Well, let's hope I do, but it's pretty crazy. Okay. But anyway, here's my point about what happened.
Yeah.
In all three of these cases, somebody treads on sacred ground. They talk about some topic that they maybe don't have license to talk about. Why do Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson get to talk about dark skin? Why does Whoopi Goldberg get to talk about Nazis and Jews? Why does Robert F. Kennedy Jr. get to talk about, Nazi tyranny?
Jews.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the point is, all these people don't have automatic standing because they're not members of this group. They talk about stuff, and actually all of these people talk about it apparently not worried, right? And then somebody's like, there must be something wrong in there. I'm going to broadcast it as if they've said something so self-evidently wrong that they have just jeopardized their entire standing. And we'll see if somebody can find out what that wrong thing is, right? We'll put it out into the world as if it's terrible, and then we'll see whether anybody can formulate the complaint credibly, right? And the point is actually, even in Whoopi Goldberg's case, right, where what she says sounds offensive. She says, the Nazis were not engaged in racism because the Jews that they were persecuting were of the same race. Now, I don't subscribe to her perspective, but it's not that she said anything about it was okay. She just has some definition of race that it involves this being within rather than between. And the fact is it's tone deaf, but it's not evidence that she has any animus towards some racial group.
Well, it seems to me actually that the thing that ties the three examples that you've brought up together is that the attempt to cancel the speakers on the basis of these supposed errors has been in large part due to the technique used is you're not a member of the group you're talking about, therefore even talking about it is unacceptable. And this is a pretty modern, I think, I hope, but it feels like a very modern thing. And of course, we experienced some of this at Evergreen as well. Like, you're not allowed to think about, have any opinion about, say anything about anything with which you do not have direct personal experience. Furthermore, you need to bow down to the, individual anecdotal lived experience of anyone who does as soon as they tell you anything that they believe to be true about anything about that group. And, this is, of course, incoherent at every single level. And that's not to say that individual stories aren't powerful. Of course they are. Or that anecdote can't sway people, or that what it is that you have experienced doesn't give you a particular perspective that those who have not lived in your skin cannot experience the same way. But that isn't part of what we are as humans. That is part of what we do. We have theory of mind. We have empathy. We have the ability to say, hey, try my shoes on for a while. Try living as I do. Try looking through my eyes. Here, let me help you. And this modern thing is, I'm going to force you not to look through your eyes to tell this story, and I'm going to bludgeon you with the idea that my eyes exist and I have a story to tell, but I'm not even going to tell you that because I'm exhausted or some bullshit like that. It's entirely incoherent at every level, and it's, you know what it is? It's mean.
Well,
it is deeply, deeply mean at many of the individual levels. And of course, it is powerful. It is a powerful way to shut people down.
Right. And that is the thing, is it is about power. There are really two versions of civilization that we could be pursuing. One was the one that until, a few years ago, we all thought we were pursuing, at least all the decent people did, which was the society in which, your background doesn't dictate your opportunities, period. Right. It wasn't the colorblind has become a bad word because people have misportrayed it as a kind of, pretentious claim that you can't see color rather than it plays no role in a courtroom or a classroom. It is nothing more than a phenotypic marker.
It's like conflating men and women are equal under the law with men and women are the same. It's the same conflation.
It's the same conflation. And so the point is, you've got the world in which these things no longer dictate your opportunities, right? That's really the liberal dream. That's why conservatives are now defending liberal gains, is that we all, liberals were right about this.
Liberals kind of won this fight 30 years ago.
They did, and now they've abandoned it, and the conservatives are defending it. And there's something beautiful in the conservatives defending. I mean, maybe conservatives are always defending the gains of past liberals, and that's part of the confusion here. But
it seems, actually, now that you say it that way, that would have to be the case.
It really has to be the case.
It would have to be the case.
But in any case, the alternative world is one in which we apportion special rights. Here's a word that you can use that they can't use, right? That's a little privilege for you. And the point is, do you really think you're going to fix the world by apportioning privileges? Does that sound good to anybody? Obviously, it's insane. It's not stable. The right world is the one in which, you're never perfectly going to get there, but the one in which we approach as well as possible a place in which none of the things that have hobbled any of our ancestors still matter, right? You really do, is meritocracy good? Yes. Do we have one? No, not quite. But merit plays a role, right? What you want is a system in which...
Do we want to increase the role of merit and decrease the role of chance and luck? Yes, we do.
It is that exactly. We want a system in which merit plays as large a role as possible. And then we all know what it is we're supposed to do, which is be meritorious, right? Bring good things to the world. Help others bring good things into the world, right? Those are the things we should be fostering rather than a system, it's plainly insane on its face that you're going to reapportion privileges in any way that could correct for anything in any permanent sense. Right? That's a forever game of chaos, right? It couldn't be done even in principle.